Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a full house and a full agenda tonight. More aggressive. Someone said be more aggressive. Ice dam. Ice dam. Ice dam. Ice dam. It's over. That worked. Now listen, it's very glamorous living in Central Oregon, I learned. As I sat in the middle of my living room with a 50-pound bag of snow melt, cutting pantyhose in half, filling them with snow melt with a yogurt container and heaving them up onto my roof to melt the ice dams. Having spent the majority of January managing that, do you not find this interesting? I find it really interesting. Wow. I thought you came to hear me. So, glad we all got through that. We're all here. We had friends of friends, friends of friends of friends, brothers, clear the roof. You know, we've all been through that. So we're all here. Can you hear me? Okay. Awesome. So, signs of spring, a little bit of color going on. You ready to go? Okay. How many of you have been to Pubtalk before? Could you raise your hand? Okay, this is really good. So I have a quiz for you. Who are the title sponsors? Okay, that's innovation. All right, I want to thank Columbia Bank, Carnot Peterson, and UBS Rivera Wealth Management. I'm Julie Harrelson. I'll be your volunteer MC for tonight. And I want to thank our supporting sponsors, Jones & Ross CPAs, COCC Small Business Development Center, Central Oregon Association of Realtors, CORE, and Velox Systems. We want you to know something really important, and it's sometimes hard to tell this because these events are so well produced that EDCO really welcomes your membership and your sponsorship. It's those check writers that make these events actually possible, free drink tickets and all. Please consider each of them when doing business in Central Oregon so we can all continue to thrive together. That being said, and we like to do this every so often to keep people on their toes, each of our title sponsors has agreed to a time pitch. And those of you in the entrepreneurial world, you know when you go in to pitch your business, you usually have a time frame. So we're going to actually, we won't have any awards of $100,000 or $1 million of investment, but we will keep you to your time through creative means. But I don't want to tell you what that is because I don't want to spoil the surprise. So I'd like to introduce first Corey Allan from Columbia Bank. Corey.
Hi, I'm Corey. Thanks for having me. It's always so depressing when you've got to clap for yourself to get people clapping. But hey, thanks for coming. My professional joke writer struck out tonight, so I don't have anything to talk about. But I did want to introduce the newest member of our team, Christina Withers. She just moved back here from the area. She spent some time in Redmond and then was down in Medford for the last few years. So I told her how great these events. I had what, already? First of all, nobody talked about this time limit with me. Okay, so anyways, on the count of three, I want everybody to say, hi, Christina. 1, 2, 3. Hi, Christina. So anyways, she'll be out there tonight. Please stop, say hello, introduce yourself. I told her what a great business community we have here. And also we've got some other Columbia bankers. Taylor Thompson's in the back. Spencer Morgan somewhere back here. Kristen Warner-Lee is back here in the corner. So please, if you feel free to say hi. Yeah, also very excited. There's on your tables, there's flyers for the Fastest 20. It's an event the Cascade Business News is putting on. It's to recognize our local companies here for the fastest growing companies in Central Oregon for the last 3 years. So great way to recognize your companies, the people you work with. Yeah, so please take a look at that and get the nominations in. And lastly, you'll notice all the Columbia bankers are wearing these blue ribbons, and unexpectedly, Monday night, we found out some very tragic news that our CEO and president of Columbia Bank passed away. She's 64 years old, very very powerful woman, very well respected in the industry, and just a complete shock to us. So I know none of you probably knew her, but I can understand, and I know you guys all can respect the great qualities of a really strong leader, and she truly was that. So please grab your glasses in front of you, and cheers to Melanie. Thank you. Left? Did I get that next time?
Thank you. Yeah, and that just reminds us, let's all take care of each other. So now I'd like to introduce Ryan McHugh from UBS.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ryan McHugh. I'm a local investment advisor and financial planner with a wealth management team here in the Bend area. We service affluent individuals, family entities, and business owners for all their wealth management needs. I am the certified financial planner and one of the portfolio managers for our team. And tonight I wanted to talk to you guys about something specific called sustainable investing. So when you think about the word sustainable, you know, what does that conjure up, right? Is it a sustainable resource, a culture, or whatnot? I'll define it for you. It's pretty broad. In our world, sustainable investing is companies that adhere to a stringent code of environmental, social, and governance structures within their corporate platform. So these companies might have a adherence to low fossil fuels, clean energy and their infrastructure, equal pay for women in the workforce, or they big charitable donations to social and environmental groups. So that it's a very broad definition of these types of companies of how they work. So if you look at that sounds great, right? I could get behind this, something I could invest in that makes me sleep well, but does it get you a rate of return, right? And the short answer is yes. You can take your beliefs, your goals, and align that with your investments. And we've been managing a large cap growth portfolio for the last 9.5 years that actually over time has slowly encompassed a lot of these ESG or sustainable investment companies. So you can take a company that's high quality, it's growing its earnings per share every year, and also adheres to many of these environmental, social, and governance standards. Over the last 9.5 years, our portfolio has done over 9.5%. This has outperformed the S&P 500 by over 3% a year. And it's not by timing the market or getting in and out or trying to hit a home run with a risky company. It's simply adhering to a strict governance and investment platform on real high quality companies. And also, it's also been done with less risk. So if you guys are feeling sustainable, you're thinking sustainable, I'd encourage you to invest sustainable, and we're your guys to do it. So thank you. I'm Ryan McHugh.
Now I'd like to introduce John Napier from Carnot Peterson.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you all for attending Pubtalk tonight. As Julie mentioned, my name's John Napier. As of January 1st, I am the chair of the Carnot Peterson Law Firm here in Bend, a full-service business law firm with 17 attorneys, and we represent startups and investors all over the state. At the November Pubtalk, I gave a quick legal update on the potential implications of the resignation of SEC Chairwoman Mary Jo White. At the time, speculation was that her replacement would be unlikely to share the same zealous enforcement priorities that she had enacted for the SEC. And since then, President Trump has nominated Jay Clayton to chair the SEC. And I'm going to steal a page from Julie's playbook and offer not one, but 2 bottles of Legal Zen, I'm sure a very fine wine, to anyone 21 or older who can tell me what Jay Clayton does for a living? Anybody?
A minor.
I haven't heard it right. He and I have a lot in common. A lawyer. Where did I hear that? Right over here. Okay. Are you 21? Okay. Excellent. Good job. So in terms of the ramifications of that appointment or the nomination, a recent Wall Street Journal article says it all. And I quote, SEC pick Jay Clayton is a 180-degree turn from Chairman Mary Jo White. So the exact opposite. And he's on record from the Wall Street Journal as saying that government could promote growth by causing what he considers unnecessary regulations, that government could promote growth by ceasing what he calls unnecessary regulations on raising capital. And he goes on to say that his compatriots expect him to take a less zealous enforcement priority with the SEC. So, in conclusion, we're going to try to give you periodic updates with what's going on at the SEC because they regulate private placement securities transactions and crowdfunding startups, which is going to affect how local companies raise capital. And Kurt promised to give the disclaimer that we are not advocating that anyone go out and violate federal securities laws. In the meantime, thanks again and enjoy your evening.
Thank you to our sponsors again. Really appreciate it. Let's give them another round of applause. So the crew that puts on these amazing events is here tonight. It's our EDCO staff, and I really encourage you, and I do this every month. Do you not find this interesting? Okay. Aaron Chiat, Operations Manager, Brian Vieira, Venture Catalyst, Tom Rowley, the Ben Manager, Terry Hockett, Technology Industry Coordinator, Aaron Riley, Events and Membership Manager, Caprielle Lewis, Sisters Area Manager, and Elise Rossman, who's EDCO's newest team member, Director of Marketing and Communications, Caroline Irvin from Prineville, Prineville Area Manager, and David Haynes, the inimitable David Haynes, EDCO intern and looking for gainful employment. So thank you all for your hard work. And we always like to take a minute and thank also, in addition to the backbone that the staff is, the newest members. So Locals Compass, Nine Peaks Solutions, and the Old Stone Performing Arts Center. Thank you for joining EDCO. And now I'd like to introduce my friend and colleague, Nitin Rai, Elevate Capital's Managing Director, to hear what they've been up to since investing in the Ben Venture Conference last October. As you may recall, Ben Venture Conference was a record-breaking conference investment amount, and I want to welcome you back to Bend, back to Pubtalk, and you're on the 2-minute clock also.
I am. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everybody. Great to be back. Last time I was here was in October, and we had such a blast. I don't know how much we announced, but $3 million at BVC, and we're going to break that record this year. So, and I'm going to be right there. So, since BVC, so for those of you who don't know Elevate Capital, it's a fairly new fund. We launched in August last year. We have two funds: Elevate Inclusive Fund that exclusively invests in women and minorities and veterans, and Elevate Capital Fund is a regional fund that invests in underserved entrepreneurs, which means entrepreneurs that are out of Bend, Eugene, Corvallis, rural Oregon, and it's all inclusive. So we've made about 10 investments out of both the funds. We've made 8 out of the inclusive fund. 4 of those ended up getting investment from the capital fund. One fund is $3 million, the other one is $10 million. I'm still raising, but we invested about $2 million out of that fund. All of our investment companies raised subsequent capital, like Hub and RFP.io that were at BVC. Each company out of the inclusive fund raised an average of about 20 times of what we put in, and the capital fund 4 times what we put in. So what Elevate brings is huge leverage. both in terms of my connections to a variety of other funds that we co-invest with, but also some of our LPs put individually co-invest with us. One of our LPs put in $750,000 in 2 companies. So I'm very intentional about investing in Bend. We are looking at one company. We not just do tech, we do tech-enabled. We have done bioscience. We've done an apparel company. So we're industry agnostic. We want to invest in early stage companies with high growth plans, and we want to support them with our mentoring network. And I also have my begging ball out. So if anybody in Bend wants to partner with me that is interested in investing, I can't make official requests, but I'm here. Reach out to me, nitin@elevate.vc, or talk to me later. But I'm excited to be here, and I'm really proud to support Bend. Thank you. I'm in it. Less than 2 minutes.
Probably happy about that new SEC person, huh? That's good. Okay. We've worked together a lot over the last couple of years, and I really appreciate Nitin being here. So we're ahead, so I'm going to make a slight commercial announcement. Somebody carded me, and I held this up, and I realized, no, I'm not blonde and 5 feet tall. This is someone's driver's license. Jamie Harmon, this will be at the front desk for you if you're in the other room or in here. So we'll put that up at the front desk for you. I'm going to save you this. So some of you are new, so you don't realize this, but sometimes I sing. I'm on moratorium from singing tonight. But I do want to... Who clapped? Who clapped? Okay, but I do... What?
That's fine.
Oh. Hi, Jamie. Everybody give Jamie a round of applause.
Recent Colorado transplant.
Welcome, welcome. Okay, so I'm not going to sing, but I do want you all to stand up because we're a little bit ahead. So could you stand up, please? Other room also. See us on the Jumbotron. So I want you to go, woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. Okay, ready? Woohoo. Nice. Okay, you can sit down now. I just wanted to see if I could get that to work because we're saying woohoo to Healthy Hoohoo. Woohoo to Healthy Hoohoo's founder, Stacy Lyon, and invite Stacy to the stage for a quick company update and hear why we should all be woohoo for hoo-hoo. Yes, yes, even you guys out there, you all have important women in your lives, so listen up.
So if you guys were here November 2015, you know I used to be a cheerleader. So the woohoo for hoo-hoo definitely plays into my hands, but I had to bring my water up on here on stage. Yeah, thanks Hydro Flask for my booth water at the Natural Products Expo. So anyway, hi, my name is Stacy Lyon, and I'm the creator of Healthy Hoohoo, a line of natural feminine cleansing products. But before I start with my update, I'd like to get something out of the way. Vagina, 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 vagina. See, that works. Everyone's quiet now. So next time, Julie, when you can't get their attention, just say vagina. Vagina. Yep, I went there and I used the word vagina. It's truly an uncomfortable word. One that sadly sits under the taboo umbrella. And that is exactly why I named my company Healthy Hoohoo. I wanted a fun and witty name that would remove some of the taboo and make it really easy for women to talk about a major health area of our body. So I will also, I gotta put my glasses on. I will, however, be the first to tell you that vaginas are mucosal tissue, like the insides of our noses. You don't wash the inside of your nose, okay? Think of your vulvas, however, like the skin on your face. Your face likes to be washed. Your nose does not. Okay? So there is my, my biological fact this evening, because I've discovered a staggering number of women who are unaware of this distinction. Female anatomy has for far too long been a taboo topic. So, okay, so enough hygiene lesson. We had a lot of that last time I was here. Sorry if you missed that one, but we had some good ones flying around the room. So let's see, what has changed since I was here during that snowy night back in November of 2015. Okay, so for starters, I moved the company from my garage, where all really good companies are started. I moved from my garage into an awesome 1,500 square foot warehouse space at the bridge. And I don't know, I know Gary's here tonight, but I don't know if you guys are aware of the bridge. It's where all the cool cats hang out, and a bunch of startups and really cool funding companies as well. Julie's office is over there. So we moved in there, and it's great. I've got a warehouse manager. So per Jim Shell, I'm now working on my business, not in my business. So thank you, Jim. Okay, so after the move, I also have another big chunk of news for us. Another big increase in sales came after my Pubtalk last year. And after I got done, people came up to me and introduced themselves. And there's a young man by the name of Sean Lipscomb. And he approached me and said, hey, listen, I can help you optimize your Amazon sales. I'm like, okay, whatever. So anyway, he did. He tracked me down, and I signed up. And I'm happy to say that since that meeting, our sales have grown 100% annually. Can I get a woohoo for Sean and Amazon? You guys have got that down. You guys have got that down. Okay, one thing that has not changed, however, is our website. When we saw the 2x growth with Amazon online sales, made a strategic decision to pivot to an e-commerce platform. So I'm happy to report, especially to my frustrated OK members, that our new site is actually going to launch next week. So the cool thing about this pivot is, for the very first time, I can actually get to know the women who are buying my product. Because up until now, I've been selling 98% wholesale, and that's to a good chunk of the country through Whole Foods markets, and then online groups like Walgreens, drugstore.com, which actually just went under. So anyway, the new e-commerce Shopify site will be great. We'll get to know our market and send them happy birthday hoo-hoo cards and stuff like that. To go back to what we started with, I'm still on track with my quote-unquote Burt's Bees growth strategy. And this is securing a strong foothold in the natural channel by gaining the trust of women in a fiercely loyal product category. We do this with grassroots marketing and a plan of influencer marketing, direct emails, Google AdWords, Facebook ads, and Instagram promos. Oh, and if you didn't know, the Clorox Corporation purchased Burt's Bees for, anybody? A whole bunch. Yeah, $925 million. Yeah, so yeah, the word natural, that's the way we go. I know at this part in my presentation, I gotta be quick, and I'm supposed to have an ask, right? You're supposed to ask you guys for help or direction or anything, but it turns out in life that I seem to do better if I practice gratitude. And so instead of asking, I have a little thank you to do tonight. So I know Jim's not here, so I'm just gonna shoot straight ahead to my dear and very patient husband. And he's very comfortable with the word vagina now. My OK 29 group, which I think a couple members showed up, and my old OK 25 group. Hi, Eric. My Naturally Ben group, and this is a little secret group of cocktailers. Can you stand up, cocktailers? Yeah, cocktailers, no. Naturally Ben girls. There's a couple of us, Kathy in the back. There's a couple of us who come together once in a while, and we share resources and insights, and hey, this worked for me, and I cannot say enough about these women. They've definitely helped me a lot. And last but not least, I want to thank Teresa, the gal who wrangles my wrinkles, and Stacy, who colors my gray hairs, and my dentist, Brad, who keeps my teeth in my mouth, because being an entrepreneur, all of these things take over. And so no ask tonight, but yeah, I think, wait, actually, you know what? I take that back. I have an ask. Has anyone purchased my products? Okay, you guys get all full-size product. Thank you so much.
Good job. We're going to ask questions, and I'm going to repeat them so people in the other room can hear.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're going to do some Q&A, and I'm going to take a question, and then I'm going to repeat the question so people in the other room can hear, okay? Question? Yes.
Oh, she gets the free product.
Oh. Woohoo! That's called gentle care for down there, I think, right?
That is. That's our trademark.
Yeah. Questions for Stacy? Dana?
You have to ask it.
Yes.
Corey has a question.
Oh, Dana Barbado has an ask. She wants to join the cocktail circle. See Stacy afterwards. She's going to give you her card. Okay, we have time for one or two more questions. This is like when you go to one of the, like when you're a kid and you're in the class and they talk about stuff and you're like, I don't know it.
Eric has a question.
Eric? Are you planning any men's products?
Yes, and you're on the testing team.
Awesome. Another question? Yes.
So are the male testing team the testes?
Oh, boom! That's like my. Oh, there's so many things you can do with this subject. There just really are. I wish really that we didn't have the keynote tonight. We could just talk about. I'm kidding now. I'm kidding.
We love Scott.
Okay, one more question, then we're going to move on. So, Stacy, you didn't make an ask, but since you have another minute, do you want to make an ask?
Yeah, I asked that if anyone has a lot of expertise with e-commerce, my email is stacy@healthyhoohoo. I take tips really well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay. I really was kidding about the keynote, okay? Equally as interesting. So let's hear from self-admitted serial entrepreneur, Christian Pettyjohn, founder of his latest project, EDCO, which seeks to vastly improve how the design industry finds, creates, shares, and stores its digital design assets, all while making a difference. Christian?
All right, I'm going to take this down because I'm a little bit of a walker and a talker. Hi, so my name's Christian Pettyjohn, and it's honestly, this is amazing. So I just moved here 6 months ago, and I've been very active in the startup communities in Alaska and also over in the Philippines, where I do a lot of work and a lot of social work. And we'll go have a nice little pub talk like this. And we're excited when 20 people show up. And most of these cities are 10, 20 times the size of Bend, and 300 people sold out tonight. I mean, that blows my mind. So thank you so much, just to all of you who are here supporting the startup community, to entrepreneurs like me and all the ones here in Bend and Central Oregon. It means a lot. And so I moved here 6 months ago to be closer to family and also to continue to start businesses. And being from Alaska, this just seemed like a good place to be, and I'm excited to be here. So my company, EDCO, is a graphics design library. And so more specifically it's a royalty-free graphics library. So essentially you would pay us $9 a month, and you could come to our website and download 20 graphics. And that could be a photo, it could be an icon, it could be an illustration. And then you could take those assets and you could use them commercially in any project. So you can use them in a product label, you can put them on your website, whatever you might need. And so it's a pretty big industry. The graphic design industry is actually $9 billion every year in the US alone is spent just on licensing creative media for commercial use, which is pretty incredible. And we got some pretty big players in the space, players like Getty Images, who recently bought iStock Photo for $50 million last year, just a small niche player. There also is companies like Shutterstock, another private company. They do over $1 billion a year, licensing creative media, pretty incredible. And Adobe, which is a pretty common household name for most people in the creative industry, moved into the space in a big way last year, launching Adobe Stock. And so it's pretty fun. We're seeing acquisitions happening. We're seeing big, major players moving into the space. Obviously, it's a pretty rad business model. It's a digital product. You have no cost of goods sold, basically, and you can sell it multiple times, and you can deliver it instantly. It's kind of a dream, to be honest. However, we found that there's a couple big problems in the industry. And so I've worked in the graphic design industry for about 8 years. I started off running a software company just up in Anchorage, Alaska, and somehow that morphed into a software company for photographers and also doing photo editing. And so I've been in the Philippines now for about 5 years working with the team. We raised $1 million with my first company. We're in 7 digits of revenue. We're profitable. We're scaling. Have about 250 employees, and it's been a pretty incredible journey. But along that journey, we've really struggled to figure out how do we, as we're building products, we have 4 product teams now, how do we find creative assets and how do we maintain a consistent brand as we are designing and building a lot of different products at one time? And in the past, when I was doing web design work, how do we maintain those assets for clients? And so basically, Vecto was born with the blessing of our board to saying, hey, we think there's another really big opportunity in front of us. And so we wanted to address 2 big issues in the industry. And the first is that every single competitor that I just talked about, Adobe down, they're all aggregators. And so aggregators were pretty hot in the startup community, maybe, I don't know, the last 5 years or so. And they come in and they take all this content and they organize it, right? And then for that organization, they make $1 billion, and that's pretty cool. And we all thought it was cool for the first couple of years. When they had a million photos on a website in one spot, we didn't have to go hire someone else, and it saved us a lot of time and a lot of money, and it was cool. Today, those asset libraries are pushing 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 million assets. And imagine, instead of just hiring a photographer like you might normally do and you're getting 20 photos back, you go out and you hire 10,000 photographers. And now I get to sift through 50 photos from every single one of them. And so what happened essentially is these libraries became just massive. And of course what happens with 10,000 different creatives contributing to these libraries is they're just massively inconsistent. So if I'm trying to find an icon, and I need a lot of different icons across different pages or across my different brands, they all look different. They're all shaped differently. The editing on the photos look different. And it actually becomes almost unusable, and it takes just a ton of time. And so there's a lot of issues with aggregators. Essentially, they focused on quantity over quality. And it's the reason, if you're at all familiar with the space or the word stock, it's kind of synonymous with like cheap or cheesy, or it's just not really good graphics at the end of the day. And so we want to change that. Also, because they're aggregators, they can't actually give you custom content. It's kind of, you get what you get. So in our workflow as designers or product teams, we go out, and the first thing we do, of course, is we kind of get our project specs, we get our branding, so our fonts, our colors, our photos, our assets, and then we get to work. We start designing. And so part of that process, of course, is that we go out and we go to stock sites, we get photos, maybe we'll take some in-house, maybe we'll create some in-house, and stock photography is part of that, but it's only part of it. So the second big issue is that they've only solved part of the customer's problem. Basically, you go to a stock site, you buy 7 photos, and they say, here's a receipt, have a nice day, and they're done. But really, as designers and as product developers, we're really frustrated because then we have all these assets, and we have to share them with our other team members, we have to distribute our end products to clients, and probably the hardest thing to do is that maybe a year or 2 later, we need to find those same assets and use them in future products. And so this idea of organization of creative assets is actually a big nightmare. It's a big cluster cuss right now. And what we do right now is we use Google Drive, or we use Dropbox, right? And it kind of works, is the quick answer, right? It's just cloud storage. We can share our files, but it's mashed together with all the other company files. And we're always struggling to say, I need access to this file. And if, God forbid, one of the employees that have content leaves the company and all their files get deleted and we just lost years of work, this happens to us almost on a monthly basis, and it's super frustrating. And so we just feel like there needs to be a better solution for managing assets. So that's where Vecto is born. We do 2 things to solve these core problems. The first is that we're fundamentally different because we're a content company. So we're not an aggregator. We actually create all our own content. And so as a beta test last year, we hired 2 illustrators full-time, and we were able to create 15,000 illustrations into our library. And we said, man, if we can do 15,000 with 2 people, what could we do? So we raised a little bit of money, raised $100,000 with a fund, friends and family round. And this year we're pushing to get to 50,000 assets. And then our goal next year is that we'll go ahead and potentially raise another round of capital and try to get it to around 200,000 to 300,000 assets. And so the thing with Vecto is because we're content creators and we're not aggregators, we actually solve a lot of other problems. The first off is we might be a smaller library. Maybe we have a couple, 100,000 assets instead of 10 million, but we have a consistent library. So everything that we search under a certain style, you know what's going to fit. It's going to fit your brand. And we have a lot of different styles, so there's still a lot of variety in what you get. Additionally, what we do is that first time in the industry is that we can actually do custom content. And this is something that's never been done in the stock industry before. So maybe we get you 6 or 7 of the assets that you need for your project out of 10. And if you need to go all the way, rather than trying to create it in-house or still trying to go hire another contractor, which takes time and money, you can just order it from us. And we'll turn it around in 12 to 24 hours, and we'll do it for a breakthrough price of just $9 per graphic. And so we are a subscription-based service, and so for starting at $9 a month, again, you get about 20 downloads. It does include a custom graphic, and that $9 then would be for additional graphics beyond the one. So that's our core business model and who we are and what we're doing. Also, of course, owning content has another big benefit. That is that we have 100% of our margin. So all of our competitors resell. So basically, they license content to relicense. They take 30% of the cut. Where we own our content, so we have 100% margin on all the digital assets that we sell. And this kind of takes us to a whole nother level of we have the ability then to create, because we're a tech company, to create an API and integrate our creative content into other platforms. So for the first time, we're creating a product that's not just for the design industry, but it's actually for the general market. So imagine that you create a website on Squarespace, or you're creating a PowerPoint presentation in PowerPoint. And instead of using their shitty clip art, you can actually search Vecto and get premium graphics right there and plug it right into your slideshow or into your website. Something that's never been done before. And obviously, our partners, the website providers or the slideshow providers of that software would love it because now they have better content. People are creating a better product with their product, and we would revenue share with them. So the other thing, of course, is we want to build an asset manager. And so when you go to our website, you find some photos, find some fonts you want, you could then assign those assets to a client or to a project. And because we don't live in a bubble and we understand that people work with other partners, you might need assets from a client, you might get them from another stock site still, that will allow you to upload all your assets to one central location so then you can store them in one spot and share them. So that at the core is what Vecto is and what we're trying to change. Where we're at now is we have a team of 10 people. So we have 5 full-time illustrators as of just a couple months ago when we raised a round in December of financing. So we hired 5 full-time illustrators. We have 3 developers. All our designs are done. I'm a UI UX designer myself, and my partner Devin does all our marketing. We've done 3 businesses together now. I guess our ask at this point is we're looking for people that might be looking or needing creative content that'd be interested in beta testing and helping do some custom designs and using our software up front. And we're considering another round of financing later this year. So thank you so much. That's Vecto.
So we can trade this back and forth, okay? Hi, so questions for Christian? Yes, Betsy. How do we find you?
Yep, great. So you can find me tonight, of course. I have business cards. We're not launched. We're anticipating launching the website in July, and we're on track to do that, and it'll just be vecto.com. That's VECTTO.com. And until then, you can just reach out to me directly tonight or via email. It's just k@vecto.com.
Other questions? Yes. Are you comfortable with...
She's back.
Are you comfortable with creating content for Hoohoo?
Yes. Yes, we could do this. We've actually had a human anatomy category already, and we had to be a little careful when doing it because we do office share, and we want to be careful of harassment and what are you working on. But we have done similar icons in the past. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that question. Other questions? Yes. Will you will you be specifically vector? Will you go into stock footage? What was your focus?
So this year our focus is exclusively on vectors, so doing icons and illustrations. And then once we do the next round of financing, we hope to push into photography next year in a big way. But until we have more financing, just to do the teams ourselves, since we're the ones taking all the photos, we don't feel like we can do it properly until we have a little more funding.
Yes. Do you have anything in your structure that helps people keep the content and assets fresh and not just piled in there like an old filing cabinet? How about that? Is that good?
Yeah, so I think that's the core issue of aggregators, right? They just have so much, and how do you sift through 60 million assets and clean it up? So by default, we want to be a smaller library, but to answer, I guess, your specific question, okay, so she's interested more in how do you organize a company's assets and keep those current. So I think how we're approaching it, and we've talked with a lot of ad agencies about this issue, and which, by the way, their biggest request out of everything that we've talked to is they want an asset manager, specifically for brand management, and that most agencies say we'll easily pay $100 a month, we just want it. And so I think what we're trying to do is not something revolutionary or crazy, it's just adding a little structure to what's already there. And so as long as the account is already live and is active, those assets will be maintained in the cloud. So you as a team still need to manage your own assets, but we're just bringing a little structure to it, and we're not allowing other documents that don't apply to your design teams to get cluttered in there, and hopefully sharing the problem of I guess permissions and things like things getting deleted if a user leaves. We want it all to be maintained there long term so you can easily retrieve those assets down the road.
Thanks, Christian. Great to see you. Yeah, appreciate it. So you may have noticed, those of you that are regulars, that we didn't have our director's minute tonight because Roger Lee is with a group of people over at the legislature talking about OSU Cascades, and he's on his way back, but I did just want to make sure that I represented him tonight. So thank you for being here. So our next speaker is founder and CEO Tyrone Hazen. Tyrone, if you want to make your way up here, mixed with a bit of science, some ingenuity, and even some DIY time in creating Fireside Audio Box, a Bluetooth-enabled audio player complete with dancing flames. I mean, how can you beat that, right? Dancing flames that respond to your music. I hear that, come on up here. I hear that today is your birthday, Tyrone, and EDCO's giving you a stage, a microphone, and 300 some people to party with. So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tyrone. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much. That was unexpected. So as Julie mentioned, my name is Tyrone Hazen, and a few years ago I discovered the maker movement, and so I joined a makerspace, and suddenly I had access to this amazing fabrication facility. The problem was I didn't know how to use about 90% of the equipment in it. So rather than take courses on the individual the individual machines in the shop, I decided that I should come up with a project that would require me to learn all of the disciplines of the shop through one consistent arc. So I have a background in physics. I listen to music from sun up till sundown, and like a lot of people, I'm very fascinated with fire. So I set out to create the world's first desktop Rubens tube. So this is the Fireside Audio Box. It's a Bluetooth-enabled, battery-powered, propane-fueled audio system that syncs dancing flames to the music that you're listening to. It houses a standard propane cylinder, like a Coleman style, and you'll get about 5 hours of burn time out of one of those $3 canisters. So being a beginner at making, it took me quite some time to get it functioning, but once I did and it started to take on its final shape, which I'm very proud of, people started to take notice around the shop, and I would get questions about it. And people would say, "Hey, man, that's really cool. How much are you going to sell those for?" So through a stroke of pure genius, I got this idea that I should try and sell these things. So before I did that, though, I had to go back to the shop and add some safety features. So I've integrated a couple of safety features. One is an anti-tip-over shut-off valve, and the other is a gas leak sensor that both of which will shut off the gas flow and kill the flames. So with that already wrapped up, I started going towards the business focus. I have a degree in economics from UCLA. And I've actually taken a pretty in-depth course, entrepreneur's course through COCC. And so I used my education to start tackling the business side of things. And my initial challenge was to figure out who my target market was, who's going to buy this thing. So initially I assumed that my target market was going to be professional males between 25 and 40 who were hopeful that this was going to help them get laid. And while it's not for them, over the past year I've had the opportunity to display this in a number of public settings, most notably a couple of art walks here in town. And the positive response has come from a much broader range of people than I expected, and it was really fantastic. So, a 10-year-old will pull his mom up to watch the Dancing Flames, or I had a conversation with a woman in her 80s who wanted one to take with her on her annual trip to Vegas with her friends. So that told me that there was a market for beautiful, authentic, well-crafted, what I'm calling home statement pieces. So I went about trying to figure out what that market was. And I think it is this overlap between two different industries, one being home audio, the other being home furniture and decor. And so I want to read you a quick quote from a company called Trend Hunter. And if you're not familiar with them, they're the world's #1 trend reporting agency. And they state, quote, "The artistic elements present in both music production and interior design are interacting with one another via audio-focused furnishings. Decorative pieces that contribute on aesthetic and auditory levels are also indicative of emerging collaborations between creative labels addressing consumers with diverse interests." And so I think they're talking about that same space where I think that we land. So looking at those two industries, you've got home audio on one side, $19.5 billion industry, growing at a rate of 4%, and that is due to the increase in disposable income that we're seeing, as well as consumers' preference for higher quality items. On the other side, you have the home furnishings and decor market. This is expected to be a $664 billion market by 2020, again, due to the increase in discretionary income that we're seeing, as well as the strengthening housing market. As more people are able to buy homes, they're able to fill it with more stuff. So, and one thing that is important to note about both of those is that they're seeing a staggering increase in the number of online purchases. Obviously, we're all mobile. They've made it very easy for us to shop for something, search for something, buy the same, and then have it delivered. And I think that's another good fit for my product. So, that's kind of the general industry. Target market, I am looking at young to middle-aged, high-income earners. And traditionally in the audio scene, most products are marketed towards males, and we're going to continue to follow that proven approach. So that leaves us with men between 25 and 65 with a household income of over $100,000 per year. In the United States, that's 27 million households, so we need to dig a little deeper. And we're looking for a particular psychographic. And we define this as the elitist. Now, the elitist is usually an early adopter of new tech. They travel, they're well educated, they are interested in cultural experiences, art, fashion, music, and culinary events. They are never going to be the ones to hop on a trend. They want to catch it first, or they're not interested at all. And they communicate with one another through the social channels of Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, usually in that order. So those are the areas where we'll try to attract their attention. But from a marketing perspective, I'm looking at a three-pronged approach. I'm looking at brick and mortar retailers, catalog and online wholesalers or retailers, as well as going direct to consumer. And the first two of those are obviously going to be where we gather the most revenue. And sorry, lost myself. And we've had quite a bit of success with that lately. So I'll tell you about a little bit of the validation I've seen over the past year. Launched a successful Kickstarter campaign in August. I raised $38,000 in 32 days. And in addition to the funds, we also got picked up by over 100 blogs and media sites. And some of those of notable names like CNET, Design Boom, and Popular Mechanics. I've also been approached by a number of network television shows, including Shark Tank, that have an interest in helping us promote this product. And then I spent the entire month of January bouncing around the country going to trade shows. And that works really well for us, and I think there are a couple reasons for that. One is that we have been invited to and accepted into a number of curated and or juried sections of these larger trade shows, which puts a spotlight on us. Also because of the visual nature and the photographic nature of this product, we're getting a lot of free printed press that is being disseminated to a lot of the attendees of these trade shows. And then third, if you've ever been to a trade show before, you know it's 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet. And then if you see flames dancing, most people stop, and I get the opportunity to start up a conversation. So because of the success we're having at trade shows, I have a number of national and international retailers that are interested in learning more about my pricing, timelines, and doing some test runs with us. So that has put an urgency on the production side of things. And so I have a factory overseas that should be producing my first pre-production run of 100 units to be delivered in May. If everything checks out with those, we're going to follow up with a 1,000-unit production run, and then hopefully fit one more 1,000 production unit run in prior to the start of fourth quarter of this year. So I'm feeling pretty good about the idea that we could sell 2,000 of these this year, and that would be at a wholesale price of $250 per unit. Gives us a gross margin of $500,000 in our first year, and that's at a gross margin of about 52%. But I also have some promising partnerships that I'm working on right now that will help me sell more of those units direct to consumer, and obviously increasing that gross margin. So things are going really well. I'm really excited about this, but I understand that there's a lot of challenges that lay ahead of me. So I'm looking to gather a smart group of people that can help me with this journey. I'm looking for people with experience or expertise in brand management, or brand strategy, overseas manufacturing and logistics, as well as retail distribution. I've been in Bend for 3 years now, and I can honestly say that this product would not exist if it weren't for the support of this community. I don't have a degree in product development. I don't have a team of engineers or designers. This has been 3 years of passion and grit and community support. So I'm hoping to continue to tap that same vein and gather some resources here this evening. So again, my name is Tyrone Hazen. This is the Fireside Audio Box. It'll be available in retail stores this summer at a purchase price of $500. Still available right now for a pre-order on Indiegogo for $349. Thank you. What's that?
Can this be demonstrated?
I've got it demoed over there.
Okay. So
I can this evening.
it's demoed in the other room. Okay. Does this one? No, okay, this one, no.
No, we had a big discussion about this
No,
with
yeah.
the EDCO team, and we decided to put it over there.
Okay, so it's
Sorry.
in the other room. I noticed it didn't go off when we sang Happy Birthday. So Nitin, did you have a question?
Yeah, so what trade shows are you going to? Are you going to go to the High?
What trade shows do you go to, and are you going to the High Point Furniture Show?
I'm not yet scheduled for High Point. That's the Atlanta show. Is that correct? Not scheduled for Atlanta. I am going to the International Home Show. Oh, so in North Carolina. I'm still learning all of this stuff. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to High Point. I will be going to the International Home Show, another one that I've been invited to as a special guest designer or something or other. But I'm still learning all of the trade shows. This is my first year even doing it. My first trade show was CES, which, if you don't know, is the Consumer Electronics Show. It's one of the largest shows in the world. So I kind of jumped in with both feet. So I'm not sure yet if I'll be going to High Point.
Julie, we have a question over in the theater.
Oh, in the theater. This will come out of the ceiling for us. Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering if you have considered custom commercial installations or possibly partnering with home fireplaces, gas insert type things.
So is that a question or a suggestion?
Both.
So have you considered this?
Yes, thank you for the question over there. Yes, I have a number of different things. I've got to keep my focus on this one to make sure that I can survive the first round. But I do have a number of iterations that we're working on this one, including a standard size fireplace insert, because that allows me to use a lot more fuel and do some really cool things. And I've got a number of different ideas that I'd like to follow this one up with. So yes, to answer your question.
Other questions? Yeah. Are you focused on the software aspect, or are you focused on Sonos or other products similar?
Thank you for the question. So what I've done with this particular device is I've made it expandable. So, it's a hi-fi speaker, but if you've got a discernible ear, if you're an audiophile, it probably isn't going to cut it for you. So I've made it so that you can expand. You can connect it to your Sonos system or any of these other systems and listen to that for the audio, and then you have the visual of the dancing flames with your music. Yeah.
We have a question from the Rambler Room.
Yes, please.
Hi, are you able to demonstrate this for us, maybe with some Pink Floyd?
Are you able to demonstrate this for us, maybe with some Pink Floyd, like you're thinking like Dark Side of the Moon or something like that? Yeah, how about that?
Sure, that works.
Yeah, so I've got a functioning prototype on the other side there. That is the Rambler Room, correct? Where the food was. Yeah, so I've got one set up over there, and after this evening's talk, if you guys want to come over, I'd be happy to fire it back up, and we can sample some songs if I can get good enough reception to get those. Thank you.
Do you have like a dance party over there afterwards? Yeah, okay, good. It's my birthday. It's his birthday. Yay, thank you, Tyrone. Great. You know that thing about marketing, so people could get lucky? Maybe there's some sort of a co-marketing thing you could do with Healthy Hoohoo. Just saying. Okay, I'm going to introduce our moderated discussion now. Yep. We're going to have to do some setup here, and I'm going to introduce, if we could have Kerri and Scott and Jim come up. We're going to set up the room, and I do? Okay. So yeah, if our speakers could make their way up. So in the spirit of continuous improvement and innovation, we're going to try something a little bit different with our format tonight. We're going to have a moderated discussion with three members of our community, Kerri Willerton, Scott, Allan, and Jim Collis. And I want to give you a little bit of an idea who these folks are. They're awesome people. I know them all. Kerri was one of the first people to actually welcome me to Bend. Welcome, Kerri. And Kerri is the co-founder of BluePoolMedia.com. BluePoolMedia.com is a documentary-style video production company based in Central Oregon. So thanks for being here tonight to do this. Really appreciate it.
It's on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for welcoming me to Central Oregon a few years ago. And then with us also... We should have 3 mics for the panelists, so are they sitting on them perhaps? Are you sitting on your microphone?
Oh, come on, guys. We just got here.
Here, there's the...
Oh, there we go.
I'll hand that over. I'm not giving up this microphone. No, okay. So Scott Allan is with Hydro Flask, 25 years experience creating new categories and commercializing products within both startups and expansion stage companies. So since 2012, Scott has headed up Hydro Flask, first as president and CEO, and now as general manager following the acquisition of Helen of Troy in March. Scott serves on the advisory board of Sudara and Cairn, both Bend-based companies some of you may be familiar with. And previously, Scott worked at NXP Semiconductors, commercializing the technology behind Apple Pay. And there's a bunch of other cool stuff Scott has done, including Scott and I have worked together. Scott's an investor in Cascade Angels, and just a fantastic community member. So welcome, Scott, and thanks for being here for that. And I like your hat. And Jim Collis, also with us. Jim and I have also worked together. Jim's an investor in Cascade Angels and has over 25 years of private equity investing experience. He co-founded Seaport Capital in 1997, a private equity firm focused on making control investments in the communications and business service industries. Jim started his investing career at the Chase Manhattan Bank in their merchant banking and private equity groups. And prior to his investing career, Jim was, I didn't know this is a new fact for me, so Jim was the senior project engineer at National Teleconsultants, specializing in the design of electronic systems for video and audio production facilities used in the broadcast television industry. Let me just turn the page here, one moment.
If you guys with the cameras need help, Jim is here.
Yeah.
He's got that background. Now you know.
Yeah, and you've got your Hydro Flask cups, that's awesome. So
Priorities.
yeah, so now to discuss the who, what, when, and where, and why of one of Central Oregon's hottest growing companies, Hydro Flask, a Bend, Oregon-based lifestyle hydration brand. And as we say in my household, hydration is key. Let's welcome our panelists. You know, Hydro Flask is Bend-based, which is really important. And you can see an illustration of how our entrepreneurial ecosystem works in that Karen started out at the bridge, in an office in the bridge, a little bit before Cascade Angels started. Hydro Flask moved into their new headquarters. Karen moved into old Hydro Flask headquarters, and Cascade Angels moved into Karen's old office. So Hydro Flask, Bend, Oregon-based active lifestyle hydration brand that pioneered vacuum insulation in colorful water bottles and beer growlers. Take it away, Kerri.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. It's nice to see all of you. I've probably interviewed half this room at one time, like you. Hi. I'm creating content for Healthy Hoohoos. This is a great moment. I mean, I think all of us can remember the first time that can you all remember the first time you had your first Hydro Flask or found or somebody introduced you? Mine was, and I'll say Charlie Ortega back there. I think were you number 4 with the company in the beginning, right? Yeah. So if you don't remember, I remember being on the golf course with Charlie and his wife and their son, and she was running down the golf course going, buy Hydro Flask, buy Hydro Flask, it's the best thing ever. And I was going, what is this? But we all knew that our beer was cold, so that was cool. And really, all of us, it was such a, it was, our parents had Stanleys, at least my dad did, and it was one of those products that came along that just made a lot of sense. It kept your beer cold, it kept your coffee hot, and everyone was happy about it. But I came across it on a golf course, and I think, Jim, that is how you started hearing it too, because what's interesting about this story, when we get the CEO and the guy who put the money into it back, on the stage together, you wonder how it happened. How did those stars align in the beginning? And I think yours started on a golf course as well.
Yeah, definitely. It was funny. It was Charlie Ortega, actually. It was.
Oh, Charlie. Give
actually,
that guy a hug tonight, everybody.
Actually, it might be Scott's wife, Ann, through Sherry to Charlie to Scott to... No, it's kind of a twisted little thing. A mutual friend of ours went to business school together with Scott, roommates. I was interested in moving to Bend, talked to Scott. Scott said, oh, you should meet my friend Sherry Ortega. She's a great real estate agent. So that's how I got to know Charlie. Charlie went to a job interview at Hydro Flask back in, I guess this was 2009, right, Charlie? Yeah, 2010, yeah, end of 2010. And they were out looking for capital. Charlie called me up. I met with the founder. As you can tell from my background, I know nothing about outdoor products, but I spent a couple hours with Travis Rosbach, the founder of the company, who had really hit on something pretty unique. He had figured out that having your beverage at the right temperature mattered, and he had figured out a really neat way to do it.
For sure.
And he had figured it out in Hawaii, and for him, it was trying to keep stuff cold and not having the bottle sweat when you're sitting on the beach, not having the sand stick to it. So that's how I got involved with the company through Charlie, and I didn't know anything about the hydration category, but spent time listening to, well, if we just had enough money, we'd actually have enough inventory because we order 1,000, we get them in, it takes 2 months to get them in, and then they're gone in a day, and then we have to get the money from that to go buy some more. And so that's how I got interested and involved in the business.
Okay, what about Scott, though? Because you both had this tech background. I mean, you were the Apple Pay guy and worked in the semiconductor business, and then all of a sudden again, stars align, you two meet. And this had to be a big move for you as well to go into an area that you had not been in yet. And we're all happy that you did. Thank you.
Yeah, and that was interesting because Jim talked to me and said, well, how much time do you have? Do you have some bandwidth? Would you come in and maybe mentor, be an advisor? And I'm like, well, I'm in this new job and it's busy and I'm traveling a lot and I don't want to commit or overcommit, but I'm interested. And I don't know, a month or two later, he goes, well, let's scratch that conversation. Travis is getting married and kind of phasing out. I bought him out. Why don't you come in and be CEO? And so I'm like, okay, well, that's a little different. So I kind of
please.
And so he brought in two friends of mine from business school to create this board, and they're like, hey, this would be perfect. We could tell our wives in Chicago that we have legitimate business in Bend, and we're really skiing and playing golf and going to 10 Barrel. And so I had a couple concerns. One was, okay, I know all of your backgrounds, mine. We're all engineers with MBAs, and we all ran away from things that were consumer brand because it's emotional, it's not rational, we don't understand it. None of us have done this. Like, does that not scare any of you guys? I said, no, we'll find those people when we need them. It'll just be fun. Let's go for it.
Not to mention, it was a water bottle. I mean, there was a few of them out there.
Yeah, it looked risky. It was, $2 million in sales, 12 people, and it was like, I was watching bad video last night, watching Tarzan, right? There's that scene where Tarzan's a little baby and the parents are dead and it's alone. That's kind of what Hydro Flask was to me. It's like this little awesome thing with potential, but like anything could kill it. It was really vulnerable. And it's like, wow, we could probably screw this up a billion ways and kill it, but how do we get this thing to a point where it could be something, it could last. And then I don't even know if Jim knows this, but he started like, oh, okay, let's stop beating around the bush and let's talk about really, an offer to get you in. And so suddenly I'm thinking about it. It's like, well, Jim's a great guy to go ski with and golf and drink beer at 10 Barrel, but like we're gonna work together. I gotta work for him. So I called this friend of mine. I'm like, okay, Jamie, like, what's the deal with Jim? Because if I were to pick my boss, New York private equity partner is not the thing that I would pick. Right? That just, what does that mean? And he says, well, I've seen Jim in all situations, and I can always say that he's fair. And I said, I'll take fair because a lot of times you don't get fair. And, that's where it started.
I feel like you guys should hug right now, but that's... Okay, let's talk about that in the beginning, though. I mean, it had to be, you went from, one founder who, frankly did well. I mean, I remember them at Munch and Music. I remember Charlie back, my husband's a partner in a company called Defeat, so we've been to Outdoor Retailer many times, and I remember you all selling your Hydro Flasks before you came along, but when you two came along and started to collaborate, what was that like in the beginning?
Utter chaos.
Yeah, don't say shitstorm.
My wife will yell at me if I curse, so.
I'll do it for you.
It was, it was hectic, right? We were just trying to keep up with everything. The demand was crazy. We were still trying to figure out how money, we never had enough supply. Basically the biggest skill that our salespeople had to have was to be able to tell people why they weren't getting their product and why they really wanted pink instead of blue. And why it was going to be a month later, or maybe 6 weeks, okay, maybe 8 weeks later. So it was just, utter chaos, keeping up with everything, hiring people, getting inventory, all those things, and getting people. Business was growing so crazy, it was kind of insane.
Yeah, and there was great people, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to join. The 12 people who were there were just long on passion, and they were just stoked to be in Bend. And Hydro Flask, what an exciting company, and just sky's the limit kind of thing. We could all get around one table in one room and do an update. But then there were some challenges. There was the old office where we were at 9th and Wilson was kind of funky. There was 4 or 5 offices. So I had an office, our CFO had an office, Charlie had an office, our graphics designer had an office, and then we had the rest of the people out in this like cube land where it's like 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit or 70 below zero. And they would come in and apologize to interrupt you, and it's such a pain to go talk to people in your office. You just send them an email. It's like culturally we had a lot of stuff to work on. I think that's where we began to put time and focus, is just say, okay, what do we want this business to be? Like, who are the brands that inspire us, and what are we doing well, and what's missing that we need to start putting in place on the kind of how we're going to behave, like why we're here and what we're trying to do. And in parallel was all the business pieces of like, let's make sure we understand what foundation we're on. Let's understand the supply chain. Let's understand where the limitations are. Let's understand why we're struggling to make enough product. And that was the beginning. It was pretty exciting, but there's always kind of a fire that showed up every week, it seemed.
Yeah, and how did that change well, I know your culture, you wanted it to be a certain way, but I'm guessing that Jim coming in and fully supporting you, not only financially, but letting you kind of run with building the culture that had already started before you got there. I imagine that the money and the time and the support helped you really build the lifestyle brand that it's become.
Yeah, it helped a ton, and I didn't want to trivialize what I came into because it wasn't that much earlier that people had to make a sale so they can make payroll. It was like, that was the world. So it was like, how do you get too picky if that credit card clears and you need that to make payroll? That's just what it took. But when we were capitalized, we didn't have all the time in the world. I mean, I don't know if Jim knows this. I'd say, we could take a month off just thinking about what we want to be. And he'd be like, what? You can't do that. But, I was trying to make a point to my people. It's like, we can't just take every order. We start thinking, like, where are the type of places this brand should show up and where are the places that it shouldn't show up? And we had never really thought like that before. So just getting people into the conversation and realizing that it's not just, day-to-day thing. It's something that's much more intentional and strategic. I think ultimately people had fun
Weren't you
with
the
that.
guy wanting to be in the Prineville tattoo shop?
I had to shut them down. I heard they're a premium tattoo shop too. It's not just like any tattoo shop. No, we had tire stores. We had stuff, and it took a while to kind of get that out because when the goal wasn't just push a lot of product on the market, the goal was let's create a brand that's reflective of what's premium about Bend. Then there's certain places that brand should show up. There's certain places it shouldn't, and that was a difference in thinking.
Yeah, really true, right? We had to become a brand, right, and be because Stanley invented the thermos, in 1900. Van's here. He'll tell us the year. It's early 1900s. It's not.
Cheers in the other room.
Van must be in the other room.
Yeah. Vagina. Everyone focus.
Okay, you lost me.
Sorry.
What was I talking
Something
about?
about Stanley and Van. I got carried away. It's the beer talking.
But figuring out how do we differentiate kind of what's could be a commodity product, and how do we grow a brand? How do we not screw up what was there, right? Because there was a huge amount of love. That was one of the things originally that got me excited. I went after the meeting and said, "Wow, the numbers are pretty good, but it's a freaking water bottle." And then I went on Facebook and saw they had probably sold, I think, 30,000 water bottles cumulatively by the time when I first invested, and there were 5,000 Facebook fans, like crazy reviews about it, and how emotionally attached they were to it. I said, wow, this is special. This is really interesting.
I'll tell you one thing that was great about having tech investors in a brand like this early is that they don't mind taking risk. They're used to taking risk, and they'd rather we place a bet and try it, move quickly, versus deliberate for 6 months and do nothing, and see and learn, And so that's one of the things I would tell the team. It's like with this type of board, didn't want to say, hey, we don't know what we're doing because we don't have a background in this space, but more positioned as, hey, we could take risks and learn as we go. And that kind of changed the culture too, that it got people more participating, more trying things, more speaking up. And that was kind of fun. It's like, we think this is what it takes to build a brand. Let's go for it. Let's focus on this. Let's make this happen.
Obviously, how important is that in just building your brand that you did? I mean, you were able to sit back and play with the culture and go over to the manufacturers and demand what you wanted and needed in your product as well. But also, was that nerve-wracking for you in the beginning? Let's be honest here.
I'm not the warmest, fuzziest person. I have a reasonable sense of humor, but I'm not that. No. But Scott showed the kind of the value of driving the culture and having everybody aligned, so that when you're growing as crazily fast as Hydro Flask has grown, thousands of percents in some periods, and not having a clue every day of what's going to happen next because nobody knows where the bottom of demand is. Getting everybody aligned and having a great culture and pulling in the same way and knowing how to make their own decisions, because you can't have a command and control structure when things are growing as fast as they're growing. You need people to be able to say, yes, I can do that. No, that doesn't fit with what we're doing. So that was really important
Do you look at something now, whether it's culture-wise or growth-wise across C's or with the people that you hired or the verticals you went down that were absolutely spot on, and had you not, it might have not worked out as well? I mean, it's Hydro Flask, so I think it would have worked out fine, but to the tune of $210 million, were there places that you just went, that or roads that you went down that you thought, boy, I'm so happy that we did that?
I think there's two, and one was really encouraged from the board, and it's kind of a funny story. It was the realization, hey, we're making these steel water bottles. It's not like skis or snow apparel or bread. It's not like, oh, shoot, the shelf life is 2 weeks. And if the company is chronically unable to build enough product, and I came in the business, there's like $1.5 million on the balance sheet. He goes, that's not there for you and your new director of operations to get really cute with optimizing inventory turns. Like, I dare you to build a mountain of inventory. I dare you guys to go build it. And we lots of debates, board meetings, and I kind of got the point. It was like, go figure out where those ceilings are and blow through them, because we don't know where the end of this demand is. And we just hired this director of operations. He's still with us. He's awesome, Rocco Villano. And he's like, oh, so I ran the models, and here's what we'll do, and we'll optimize turns. I'm like, no, dude, I just came out of the board meeting. You just got to order a mountain. You got to blow that up. You got to order. The poor guy just been through like 5 years of lean methodology. He's like, he came back to me. He's like, look, I just want to confirm for like the third time, if you want me to do this, because at the last 3 jobs I had, I'd be fired if I did this. I said, Rocco, you'll be fired if you don't do it. Like, you don't want to go to a board meeting and face Jim and get cute with turns. And that was one thing, because it caused us to go upstream and just say, okay, let's blow this open. And oh, by the way, yeah, we don't need quality to suffer because we're increasing the volumes. It's really about premium brand, and we need this to go get into the REIs of the world and Whole Foods and really getting some of these premium retailers that were taking interest in the product. We knew we had to start strong. We couldn't take their PO and then apologize and backpedal and not give them product and have quality issues. Like, it was really time to go make that happen. So I think the success we had there then gave our sales team the confidence of, okay, great, we can go have those conversations, we can get those orders. And to me, that was so key, because if we didn't go get that shelf space, a year or two later, someone else would have, right? Camelback, you had that product. Stanley could have brought those products out. Clean Canteen, our competition did. They finally showed up. So we figured we had like a 2-year head start. So let's make the most of that window. And that was really the focus. So I think those things really, really paid off. And the team, a lot of them never did that before. So it's like, wait, we have to go get REI. Yeah. Oh, we've never done it before. Yeah, we're all behind you. We're gonna make this thing happen.
You got this.
It's a team thing. You can do it. They're like, okay, and they did it. It was just like, woo. That was great.
Yeah, we'll launch in a couple stores. Okay, no, it's not a couple stores. We'll do 50. No, we'll do the B stores too. Oh, we're just kidding. We'll do all the stores, right? And like,
Even the Prineville tattoo shop.
No, it was just REI.
We stopped shipping to them.
Yeah, our REI was weird, because the way the industry works is you have an outside rep, and they typically came from that retail organization, and they're totally plugged in. They can get the thing done, but they vet you first, because their reputation's on the line, and they'd rather not bring you in and you fail, because it'll hurt their rep. So they spend a lot of time making sure you're up for it, and then they're like, air traffic control. They're like, we're going to run the meeting. We're going to talk about this. Do not push them for a rollout. Do not. Okay, promise. But plant seeds. And he's like, you're not going to get any more than the 25 test stores this year. Don't even ask for it. And 3 or 4 months later, we had rollout PO for all of REI. And to me, it was because that was like our number one goal. It was like, make those guys so happy that there's no reason for them not to do that. And the team really executed that. And fortunately, we were there at the right time. And I think some of the trends of consumers, the reviews, we were the #1 brand in December of 2013 on REI.com that they didn't carry, that was searched for. And so that got them into like, hey, could you get us product even early so we could put it on our website? And we did. We scrambled to make every request they had of us work. And it's still, I think, a mentality we have in the company today. It's like what the priorities are, and we just focus on that. As a team, we can move mountains. Yeah, it was really, really fun.
It was really good we hired all those people to do the searching on REI back in 2013.
And all the reviews on Amazon. That was a lot of... Jim was up all night doing those.
The initial...
Thank you, everybody, for doing that. You paid off.
I'm 100% sure Travis wrote the first 17 reviews on Amazon.
They were good. They got that thing going.
They were awesome.
Well, good job, Travis. Okay, Jim, so you've been in the business of buying and selling businesses for a long time. And when it came time for Hydro Flask to come up, what was it about it? What was it about it that you went? I mean, obviously, you know, the company had done well, the team had done well, and you know, you can't give enough accolades to the original people, the Charlies of the world, and the original team, and everybody who worked so hard, and Scott's, you know, running the show. But what was it about it that you said, okay, this might be time to put a buyer, we need to get a buyer?
So we were sitting there probably in a mid-2015 board meeting talking about the massive systems project we got to go take on because we're busting at the seams on stuff and we know we got to go do it. And so here we go. We're going to go spend a couple $1 million on systems. We're going to go drag people out of their jobs on a daily, or not out of their jobs. Instead of working 40 hours this every week, you're working 60 hours, please. And you're going to do 20 hours on your systems project because we had to go make it so we can actually handle the growth, do the international stuff. We were just starting to roll out internationally. And in 2015, I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, we're going to go make this investment. Then 3 years from now, we'll go sell the business, or 4 years from now, we'll go sell the business. And somebody's just going to tear this all out and go make us do Oracle, right?
That's happening.
Oh,
actually.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, that nightmare came true. No.
So it's that with the backdrop of kind of, I spend my life every day kind of in the deal business. And it's really frustrating when you have a great business and you're in a great market and you miss the market and 3 years later you get paid, the same price that you would have gotten 3 years earlier. So you kind of sit there and gosh, it felt like we were the 7th, 8th inning of kind of where the M&A cycle goes. I've gone through 4 cycles now. And I've been surprised how, it's still going, right? 2017 is still going to be a good deal year. Who knows how much longer it goes. Maybe we're in the 8th and 8.5 inning now. I don't know. But so that whole backdrop. So a bunch of investment, a bunch of challenges. Not that we weren't willing and ready. We're going full bore on it. But take on those type of things.
We sat through a 3.5-hour tax PhD kind of session with the person that set up Keene and Columbia's international tax structure. And it was brutal. It's like the business is getting way more complicated. So, which canton in Switzerland is your subsidiary going to be in? If it's not the right one, then you need to really have the holding company in Ireland. And Jim's like, Ireland? Oh, yeah, I'll store my Irish golf clubs there.
I was all on board for Ireland.
Yeah, no, I got to go visit the Irish operation again. It's like, well, you were just there.
And the problem was the canton in Switzerland wasn't near a ski resort.
Yeah, so it was getting more complicated. Yeah, system, and that was one of the things Jim said. It's like, hey, we're getting into stuff that what the board was really good at. It is just now kind of beyond that, and it's time for us to find an investor that has done this, has helped brands get to this next threshold. And when he said that, I'm just like, oh no, like I was really. And he's like, what? Like you're do fine. Don't worry. I said, we finally got the board and advisory board functional. Like you guys we're all like actually cruising. It's like the streak is alive type of thing. But I had to listen to what he was saying, and I got it. The things that they really helped us with, the types of things that we were dealing with now were really different. And we needed that help. We really did need that expertise.
Okay, so how did you, coming in to buy Hydro Flask, that's like buying Patagonia or Subaru, and the Bendites here take that personal. You don't want to screw that up. You want to have the right buyer. And I'm sure that choosing the buyer, I'm sure there were a lot of suitors that came along and however you did it. But what was it about Helen of Troy that you went, okay? I mean, tell us about them coming in and what it was that you said, all right, we can still continue to have this fantastic culture and live this lifestyle and keep living the culture that we built and that we love and sell our Hydro Flask with this company.
Yeah, I mean, they first appeared on the investment bankers list, and I'm like, who are they? And then Jim's like, no, we need one of these types to keep the financial guys honest. Believe me, I'm a financial guy. No, we will be disciplined if it's only private equity guys. You need a strategic that gets the bidding process a little more competitive. Okay, so I defer to Jim because he's more knowledgeable on these things. And so Helen of Troy comes out, And Jim's sitting next to their CEO, and I'm sitting next to the president of OXO, and the whole deal team's there. And they just got in. The next day we did the presentation, and so the CEO of Helen Troy, Julian Minenberg, looks over at Jim and goes, "Wow, this thing really looks great. Why would you sell it to a strategic?" And he goes, "Oh, no, we're not. We're going to do a deal with a PE guy." And so Julian goes, "Oh." And so he's kind of like, "Why am I here?" You know, like just like I fell for the trap. Took all the air out of the balloon. It was like this long, awkward moment. We're at Jules in that private banquet room, and I'm sitting at the head of the table. I go, "So, anyways, you know, how about Bears or whatever?" You try to change the subject.
I like your
keep it
haircut.
going. Yeah, that was. We laugh about that now, but that was it. And so when the bidding was going on, it was obvious that Helen and Troy really wanted the business, and we had spent time with the OXO leadership team, and that was probably the thing that encouraged us. It's like they were acquired by Helen and Troy 11 years ago. That leadership team is still there. The brand's still in Manhattan. It still stands for what it stands for. They've tripled in size, right? They got the benefit of that larger company. I'm like, okay, you know, that looks like that's going to work for us. They've done that before. It's not such a stretch.
Which is actually kind of, I don't mean to cut you off, I want you to keep going, but it's actually kind of what you needed at the time, too. I mean, that's what you were looking for.
Yeah, it was all of that. And I came in a little skeptical because, you know, because I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. And then people would ask me, like, are you sure? Are you sure? Well, that's what they say. You know, like our advisors, well, yeah, that's what they tell you. So all of a sudden I'm like awake at night, like, oh, what if, you know, whoa. So I'm asking the questions of people, and they're, you know, Helen and Troy and OXO. And finally they're getting annoyed with my endless questions about this. Like, are you sure it won't change? They're like, look, let me just make this clear. If you guys stop mountain biking after work and drinking beer, we'll be really pissed at you. I said, okay, now we're talking.
Cheers to that right there. Seriously, that's pretty great. So they really knew how important the culture was for you all.
Yeah, and I think we still do it. Like Ben's organizing a cone hike tomorrow, and we just do this. And I think that's, you know, they don't know our channels. They don't know our customers. Our margins are better. We're growing, you know, faster than a lot of their businesses are growing, and they're learning some stuff from us. We're certainly learning things from them. You know, it's symbiotic that way, and we're just kind of, you know, left to go drive our stuff. It's really great, and we got to be careful, right? We got to manage expectations, not swim with more chain than we can handle, and all these things. But you know, so far the brand's got great momentum. We just launched in Japan. We're starting to see some early traction in Europe. We're excited. Our vision is to take this brand global. And I think our team's up for it, and the parent company's still excited. You know, we've done more than we said we would do, and their prior acquisitions didn't do that. So I think we're off to a good start, and you know, as Jim says, as long as Scott doesn't screw it up, you know, it'll be okay.
You're still the first paragraph of every earnings release, so you're doing a good job.
Which freaks us out, to tell you the truth. You just want to be left alone, like under the radar in Bend, Oregon. Like, hey, there's a big company, they have this little thing in Bend, and so we're getting a little bit more center stage than we actually wanted. But you know, hey, it's better that than like, oh, we apologize for buying this company and they're struggling in Bend. So we're certainly on the right end of that equation.
Okay, I think we're down to our last couple of minutes. Julie, is that? I got a few more. Okay, so I would say, where do we see Hydro Flask in 5 years? That's a question for you. And Jim, what's next? What are we investing in next? Because Hydro Flask worked out real well.
Yeah, so Hydro Flask, you know, really around the world is part one. So Japan and Europe are just the beginning. We're excited where the brand can go beyond that. We think we have a lot of opportunity to do things beyond kind of the categories we're in today. A lot of our competitors have a bit of a head start on that, so you know, I can't talk a lot about that stuff. But you know, that has us intrigued. It has us thinking about where the brand can go long term.
Like Yeti?
Whoever those guys are, yeah. So. But I think for us, you know, it's probably more of all that stuff. The growth is what we do, and we evolve as a brand. But I think what's more important is the stuff that stays the same. Like, we're here in Bend, we're part of this community, we're proud to be, you know, part of this community. I think those are the things we want to make sure that we're part of. And for those of you that came to our Hydropalooza, thank you. We're going to do that again. That was kind of fun. We had a good time. Hopefully you had a good time. So we'll be doing that kind of stuff. You know, that's what we want to do. That might be really big in 10 years. So. Allie's in our event marketing team. We'll be at Les Schwab by then, taking over. So we'll have some fun. We really want to, you know, continue that. That's our goal.
And Jim, what's next for you?
Oh gosh, that's a tough question. You know, I hate all the valuations right now. I'm the guy who just sits there and complains about everything. It's funny, like when Hydro Flask sold, my day job didn't change. So I still have my day job as a partner of a private equity fund back in New York. So, you know, kind of life continues to roll on, and I spend time focused on mostly those type of things, which are, the recurring revenue service businesses we buy. But gosh, if you can explain to me something in about 5 minutes and I can understand how it makes money and it's pretty simple for me to understand, I'm all over it. So I've invested in a couple different things here in town. I'm always looking for, new things to invest in, growth capital and buyouts. I can't tell you where the next thing is. The thing I've been having most fun with lately is mobile beer canning, of all things. So
I know some guys in that, so I'll tell you about that afterwards.
So silly little things like that. So
Yeah, so how has it changed the way you look at investments now too? I mean, this is something, again, we'll go back to the beginning. This is something that this wasn't your wheelhouse.
I got to learn a lot more about outdoor products, which has helped a lot.
And beer.
And beer, which is really important.
I knew a little bit about beer beforehand.
No,
we can't get this without knowing a little bit.
There was a craft brewers conference in Portland a couple years ago, and Jim's like, when is that? I go, it's this day. He goes, we should move the board meeting up to like the 2 days before the craft brewers conference in Portland. So the board had to go get close to the business, make sure they understood our channels and basically go hang out with us in Portland drinking beer. It was great.
Making sure the product worked. Want to make sure your beer's
the brand
cold.
reputation. They want to enhance our brand reputation, and they did a good job.
Well, gentlemen, I think it goes without saying. A lot of us are, when these companies come into a town like Bend and do so well in a way that stays with the culture of what Bend is, which really to me is being good people, taking care of the town, the earth, your neighbors, still having fun, drinking beer and riding mountain bikes. I love that. And creating a product that we all just love. I would say cheers. Cheers to you guys. Thank you. Congratulations. And I think Julie's going to... cheers, everybody. I'm hoping to sneak this cup out right now, too.
So we have some time for Q&A. You had a question earlier. Let's see. Who else? Who hasn't asked a question yet? Yes. What's the story behind the logo?
Yeah, so it's been slightly updated, if you didn't know that, but there was an agency here in Northwest Crossing called Manzama, and they came up with about 50 different logos, and this was the one that just stood out. And I think people just loved it. It had this kind of happiness, this kind of joyous element to it that I think right away the founder saw that matched the brand, that matched kind of the experience that people have with the product. And their influences were like Life is Good and Sanuk and Smart Wool, that there's not a lot of brand marks that have a humanoid element to it, but it kind of fits, we think it fits our brand and something that's personal, something you carry around, something that, it's close to your proximity a lot. And so we're kind of liking it. We call him the little dude, we call him a hydro guy, hydro gal. We tried to define him once and all the consumers got mad at us. They're like, no, it's this, no, it's that, no, it's this. It's like, okay, let's just let it be whatever it is to consumers, but it's distinctive and it's ours, so we love it.
That's great. Other questions? Yes. Do you recall what sort of marketing you were doing back when you were a $2 million company?
I don't think we did any marketing until we were 12. Actually, I don't think we really did any good marketing until we were like a 30.
Social and PR.
Yeah, it was all PR.
We did social PR, then a lot of trade marketing, trade shows. But the word of mouth thing, which is this like part of why I joined the company, and the great brands have that, the customers market for the brand. And this brand does that still. And we're excited to show up with real marketing talent and amplify that finally. But we're finally getting around to that.
Yeah, great social, awesome PR, right? It's just crazy.
Yes, in the very back, and then Natalie. Yeah.
Hey, Scott, Scott, you mentioned brand admiration. It's not a trade secret. Who did you admire?
So, can you
yeah, so who are the brands that we sat around the room and talked about that we admire? Well, Patagonia was one, right? Because some of it was like who grew up, who scaled, but kept some of the special pieces, right? So Patagonia, Cliff Bar were some of the ones that we talked about. There were others in different spaces that came up too. But I think for us, the whole exercise of even beginning to ask those questions got people really thinking, like this could be something big and special. And so now let's start to think about how do we shape it to become that instead of just react every day to whatever is happening, in email or on the phone or et cetera. So yeah, but those are two that came top of mind.
Question from the Rambler Room.
One moment. We're going to take one more in here, and then we'll take Rambler Room. Natalie?
Yeah, my kids are obsessed with Hydro Flask. Like, they won't take any other water bottle.
You're welcome.
I was actually going to thank her.
Yeah. Let me. Okay. Okay, her kids are obsessed with Hydro Flask. They won't take their stuff to school in any other bottles. So is there a kids line?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Okay, Rambler Room.
You're competing really closely with Yeti, and so I'm wondering if you're thinking about making a cooler.
You're competing really closely with Yeti. Are you thinking about making a cooler?
Yeah, I mean, we're thinking about lots of things. We compete with a couple different brands now that are different than the people we thought we were competing with, from the 2, 3, 4 years ago. So we're certainly studying what Yeti's done well, and there's some things they're not doing well, and some other competitors like Swell and others. So I think a lot of us have some of the similar ideas in mind, and we'll see how our brand plays that out. We want to do it our way, not just do something because it's popular or it's commercial. And I think our product team's really good and they're disciplined with this. They know what we're about, they know what we're not about, and yeah, we're taking that into consideration.
Yes.
I was wondering if you could say more about how you're investing in the local community and environment, how you're caring for our community.
Can you say a little bit more about how you're investing in the community and the environment and well-being of our area?
Yeah, certainly. So we just unveiled, I'll answer the second question, then come back to the first. We just unveiled our new charitable giving platform called Parks for All. And this replaces our 5% back program. And Parks for All, we just announced in January the first 3 grants that we made. So Pacific Crest Trail, Appalachian Trail Association, some of the early recipients. And it fits in well with our brand. And what we want to do is take some of the success we have invested back into organizations that help promote people getting outside, being healthy, being active, access, conservation, preservation become some of the things that we want to focus on. I think from a community standpoint, we look at ways that we can get involved directly. So Conservation Alliance, we're really fortunate that the whole outdoor industry's collective conservation charity is based here in Bend. So we do backyard collective days with them where we're getting out, doing trail work, doing restoration work at Wychus Creek. We get involved and support some of the other local charities like ONDA and Deschutes River Trust and so forth too. And I think we look at ourselves as part of the community as employees, so our volunteer time with CODA becomes important, volunteering for VertFest and other things here in the community become important. So we kind of view that as part of our responsibility. TEDx is another one. We love sponsoring TEDx. We love what that's about. It's not purely outdoor. It's just kind of more community. It's a type of thought-provoking speakers and activities and conversations that are happening in Bend that make us proud to be in Bend too. So.
It was interesting. It was right from the core. Travis started it in the beginning with the 5% back, right? Yeah. So it was always part of the ethos of the business to be giving back to the community. It was completely haphazard in the beginning. It's become a lot more intentional and kind of focused. In the original 5% back, anybody could sign up for a charity, and we were sending people $11 checks. It was pretty meaningful to them.
I think it was sub-dollar. I think it was 48-cent checks that Krista was trying to mail people.
So we became a lot more intentional about it and then really have focused on it, but it's always been part of it.
Yeah, and it's now in the hundreds of thousands that the sizes of the checks add up to on an annual basis. So we're starting to become more meaningful, and we're proud of that.
Yeah. Do you still have a question, Nitin? Yeah. Two-part. One. Where do you see the brand in 5 years from now? How did you pick your investment banker?
I'll answer the first. I'll let Jim answer the second. So I mentioned some of it's global. We think there's a kind of global opportunity for us to show up and have that kind of delight and experience that we give to consumers that love us here, that's something that would happen more around the world. And I think a brand would kind of still stand for what it stands for, but there's certainly an opportunity for awareness to happen. We just finished our first kind of brand benchmarking study where we look at unaided awareness of a broader consumer group. We're pretty low. It's hard to think about that in Bend where it's not the case, but the rest of the planet's not Bend. So we have a lot of opportunity just to kind of build the brand, build it from an awareness standpoint, and build it on a global basis.
From the banker perspective, it was a segment that I didn't know anything about, but I had lots of friends at other private equity firms, and so I just started calling my buddies and saying, "Hey, we're thinking about doing this. Who's the right guy to talk about, for an outdoor band?" And it came back. There's probably 3 folks that kind of consistently came back, but one firm, Baird, and one partner there, Andy Martin, just, you got to talk to Andy. You got to talk to Andy. So we started talking to Andy, and that's how we picked it. So asking people who had gone through process, either buying things from them or selling things with them.
Parting thoughts for us? Any parting comments before we close?
Just one more add to that. We see the brand staying premium. We get the question a lot. Your parent company sells through mass channels, Walmart, Supergoose. We don't see this brand there, and that's kind of our challenge: is how do we keep growing and evolving? So my personal belief is, brands evolve or they die, right? You're growing and evolving, or you're dying. And so this brand's been about going forward. But for us, it's not about that growth in mass, that growth, that kind of selling out stage that once you start there, you just can't back up. So the challenge then to us is to kind of find those markets and find that relevance and think about products that keep us in that position. And I think that's a challenge that our team's really motivated to go find the solution for.
So now that Walmart bought Moose Jaw, what do you do?
Yeah, now we are selling to Walmart. Look at that. they bought our customer. Darn it. Look at that.
So thank you all for being here. Kerri, thank you so much. I have some presents for you, but I just did want to say, recently I had a chance to interview Scott, and I asked him some numbers questions. So just as a point of interest in closing, Hydro Flask actively distributes in 12 countries: the US, Canada, the UK, Norway, Sweden, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, France, Switzerland, Singapore, and Taiwan, and now shipping to Japan. Had revenues of $34.4 million in Q3 16, up 7.8% from the previous quarter. So growth is happening. And I have a few things for you here. Let's see. Scott already has one of these, but Jim, I don't believe you do. So this is a tankard that McMenamins will fill up if you bring to Pubtalk. What else do I have? This basket. Here's a basket of really cool stuff: hat from Crux, some healthy hoo-hoo, some booze.
For Jim and I to fight over?
I'm telling you, if you put all this together and you say, I got the audio with the flames, and I got the healthy hoo-hoo, and I got the Hydro Flask, you're probably in good shape. So, and then Kerri, your gift was the Hydro Flask, which you're using. So thank you all. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
And I have one last announcement for you. Well, actually two. So next month, Pubtalk, we'll have another moderated keynote featuring DocuSign founder Tom Gonzer, also a partner at Seven Peaks Ventures. He'll join Corey Schmidt, also with Seven Peaks Ventures. And we'll keep you all posted on other upcoming events. See you here next month. Drive safe. Take care of each other. Talk soon. Bye.